Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and this is my channel where I talk about all the houseplant things. And today we are going to be doing a video where I showcase a few of my plants under a certain subject. And today's subject is plants that I believe deserve more hype. So in other words, plants that are a little bit underrated. And I have made a video like this previously, I think it was a long time ago. So I wanted to do it again with some new plants that I've gotten recently. And yeah, just talk about some plants that I feel are underrated and definitely deserve more love in the plant community. Okay, the number one plant on that list is the TRADESCANTIA NANOUK. And this plant, I actually, let me just say, first of all TRADESCANTIA are pretty slept on because they are extremely common plants and they might not always be like the most beautiful or striking plants. For some people, I don't know. This is the only TRADESCANTIA I have and it is actually my first TRADESCANTIA. And after getting this one, I definitely understand well, I can't even say there's hype. That's the whole point of this video. I don't feel like there's enough hype around these guys. This one in particular is really, really striking because it has these really beautiful pink and green leaves. And actually the base color of these leaves is pink and the variegation is the green. Well, that's probably not actually true, but what I'm trying to say here is there's more pink than green on these leaves. I should have just said that. So yeah, I think that they're just super, super underrated. I don't usually see people have them. That could be because they're not super readily available. I know that when I was living in Tucson, I definitely would have never found this plant hanging on the shelves, but I would have found other versions of the TRADESCANTIA and just not really been super drawn to them. But this really makes me rethink a lot of that and makes me want to get other varieties because it's just such an easy trailing plant. All right, the next plant that I really believe is slept on is the Philodendron ATABAPOENSE. And this plant is just, yeah, I have not seen a ton of airtime of this plant on Instagram or YouTube. And I think that it's because it's definitely not a plant that would sell in stores, but something you'd probably have to order online. But I have seen a few different sellers carry it. I just haven't seen a lot of demand for it. So maybe that's why it isn't so widely sellable right now. But yeah, it is a beautiful, beautiful plant. This actually originally came from Green Spaces ID, and I gave the plant to Adam after I unboxed it and everything. And he eventually grew it to be a much bigger plant, and he gave me this little cutting. So let me show you what it looks like up close. It's basically a really beautiful long silver leaf, and then the backs of the leaves have a really strong purple reddish color. So definitely very, very beautiful. And in my experience, it's been really easy to care for. It obviously, well, not obviously, but since I got it from Adam, it was more in the fall and winter season, and then I moved. So a lot of my plants haven't been putting out new growth, obviously, because of all of the change. This plant hasn't done anything, and I feel like when it gets exposure to higher humidity in the summer and the springtime, that will change. And perhaps when I get it in my greenhouse, this is definitely a plant that's going to be going in my greenhouse. So yeah, I'm thinking that we have a long journey ahead until it becomes a big plant, but I just don't usually see people talking about this specific philodendron. And I think that when they're grown-ups, they are one of the most beautiful plants I've ever seen. This plant, the Philodendron ATABAPOENSE, crossed with the Philodendron biliaceae. Such a gorgeous plant, and I would love to have that plant someday. It's definitely on my wish list, but yeah, that's one of those less achievable wish list plants. I don't think that I will be able to find that for a very long time for a good price. So anyway, definitely underhyped Philodendron ATABAPOENSE. Okay, the next plant on my list might sound kind of boring, but I want to talk about the African violet. Okay, so it's definitely not the Syngonium albo or even this plant right here. This is a Norfolk Island pine. I get questions about this every once in a while, and I have somehow kept it alive past Christmas, so let's see how long I can go. But anyway, the African violet is just one of those classic plants that your grandma definitely had or has sitting in the windowsill, and it is just such a low-key, easy plant to take care of. I have had one before, a while ago I had one, and it didn't do anything, it didn't flower, but it kept putting out new crowns, which is new bunches of leaves, and a bunch of people told me to like separate the crowns out, but eventually I think I just like gave up on it. I got sick of it. But yeah, so this time around it has flowered for me twice. So this is the second time that it has flowered, and then like in the midst of all of that, there's still some like blooms that are coming up that are new. So this is new. This is not from this blooming sequence here. And then back here, there's like another bloom right there. So pretty much what I do to care for it is, you can see it grows like a rosette, kind of like a circle. It grows from the middle out. So what I do is when the leaves are kind of looking older, like this one here, I would just chop that off to promote new growth in the center, and that works really, really well. And you can also propagate these leaves, so you just cut that and then you put it in soil. You should definitely do some research on how to propagate them, but you can propagate a new plant entirely from a leaf cutting. I don't have any content on that, so I can't really make any suggestions, and I've never tried it, but I know that you can do it. But yeah, it's definitely an underhyped, beautiful plant. I bottom water it because these leaves do not like getting wet. They will have marks on them if you get the leaves wet. So it is the only plant that I bottom water, and it actually sits in a nursery pot inside of this pot. And I'll just put this nursery pot in a cup with water in it, and then just wait for it to soak up as much water as it needs, and then I'll pop it back in here, and there you go. Okay, the next slept on, underhyped plant is the Alocasia Maharani, and this plant is actually one that I did not know about a couple months ago, and then I saw it in person and I said I need to bring that home, which totally goes against everything that I shared in my 5 questions you should ask yourself before you buy a plant video. But you know, sometimes we have our moments, we slip up and we just buy the plant. So that was definitely a situation like this. And I felt actually pretty confident in buying the plant because I've been keeping alive, where is it? You can kind of see it in the back there, not really, but it's an Alocasia black velvet, and it is very similar in structure to this plant. Like, I mean, it's pretty much identical, except that these leaves are obviously gray and that plant is like a really, really dark green, almost black. So I felt like this would be in the same like genre of care, and so far I've been correct. It's been extremely easy to care for, and I just think like this type of Alocasia is so slept on. Like, people really, you gotta be collecting stuff like this. They're not that expensive actually. I got this at a local place. It was $25. The other one that I got I think was $40, the black velvet, or like $35, something like that. So I mean, it is like a less common plant for still a really nice price, and I'm just really proud of these plants that I found and like the good deals that I found, and I'm really excited to see this put out a new leaf. It does look like it's doing something, but let me show you the texture of this leaf up close. Like, the texture really is everything. It is so beautiful. It just looks like I don't even know how to explain that, but it is like there's so many ridges and like canyons, and it's so beautiful and just absolutely mesmerizing to look at. And I think it is so extremely underhyped because honestly I had never heard of it until I saw it in person that day at the nursery. I feel like maybe some of you might not have known about it either, so thought that I would show it in this video. So is it really a video of me showing my plants if one of them doesn't look like it's on death's door because it's thirsty? No. So here's my plant that I want to show you that I believe is so extremely underhyped. Just in general, cane begonias are so slept on, and the reason being is like I feel like most people aren't super into begonias. There's definitely a genre of plant people that like love begonias, and much respect for them, but I'm just not one of them. I don't really love begonias unless it's a cane begonia. I have 2 cane begonias. I have this one, this is a Lucerna, and then I have another one which I'm not sure the ID. I just got it at a big box store, and it looks kind of similar to this, except the leaves are more narrow and pointy. These leaves are much more round and like wide, but I have to admit it does look kind of rough because in the move it sustained quite a bit of damage, but it remains a very happy plant nonetheless. Like, it's very perky. Normally it's like, let's say it looks more like this normally, just a little bit taller. So it's not that much of a difference, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't need that much for me as far as watering goes. Like, it will droop like this when it's thirsty. That's how I know that it's thirsty, and it puts out new leaves all the time. There's actually a new leaf coming in right here, and where's another one? I saw another one, oh, right here and over here and right here. So like, it just puts out new leaves like really anywhere, and It's super prolific and really, really beautiful bloomer in the summer and springtime. It has bloomed for me, like, I think I've had this for 2 full seasons, and it's bloomed for me both seasons, which was so beautiful. It puts out really beautiful pink flowers, and I just love it so much. So if you're not really into more of like the terrarium, super hard to care for begonias, you should try out a cane begonia because they don't have big humidity requirements. Like, it was so happy in Tucson with pretty much no humidity, and yeah, it was one of my easiest plants, so I really love it. All right, you guys, so that is going to be all for this video. I hope that you enjoyed hearing my underrated plants that I think deserve a little bit more hype than they get. I think that there's a lot of houseplant varieties out there, and like, there's so much more to owning plants than trying to find an Alba Monstera or an Alba Syngonium or whatever it may be. You know, there's a lot of amazing plants that might be more accessible. Even if you just look a little bit harder, you might not find them at your local grocery store or your grocery store. You might not find them at your local nursery, but if you did a quick online search, I'm sure that you would find them for a really great price. I think that, you know, owning plants is such a fun thing to find the plants that are like in your little niche, plants that you really like that perhaps other people don't really like. So I'm sure that there's something on this list that someone's gonna be like, oh, I hate that plant, it's the worst, it's so ugly. But that's totally fine. Obviously, I'm never hurt by that because everyone has their thing. So if you are interested in any of these plants, I would suggest giving them a Google and keeping an eye peeled at your local nursery, because a lot of them you will definitely find at a local nursery, if not online, very, very easily. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.